our next speaker represents one of the largest digital commerce platforms here in Turkey. And obviously, we're expecting a great overview of what are the opportunities in the sector here. The Turkish market has proved it obtains such a great potential anyway. So let's see what the Chief Marketing Officer of Hepsiburada, Özgür Doğan, will tell us. Özgür, please join us on the stage. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. This is for you.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Özgür Doğan. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Hepsiburada. I'm sure all the Turkish guests know who Hepsiburada is, but just for the benefit of the international guests, we're the largest e-commerce platform in Turkey. So during my session, I will talk a little bit about some of the key market insights with regards to the Turkish e-commerce market. And then I will give a couple examples from Hepsiburada to show how we're really capitalizing on the market opportunity. So first off, I wanted to really to set the context, talk a little bit about the Turkish market. 82 million people, so there's quite a bit of scale in Turkey. Average age 28 years, 50% of the population between the ages of 15 and 45, which also happens to be the sweet spot for a lot of e-commerce companies. The size of the retail market is pretty big, $150 billion is the estimate. There are 28 million smartphone users, and that number is increasing at 22% each year. That's actually an important data point that I'm going to link to one of our growth strategies in a little bit. And another important fact here is the Turkish population is in love with social media. 36 million people on Facebook, ranked 4th in the world, 1st in Europe, tied with the UK. So, from our perspective, that really creates a very favorable situation for an e-commerce growth market. One of the things that's certainly driving a lot of the growth in the market is mobile, and the increasing penetration of smartphones and mobile usage is also changing consumer behaviors. And this is something, the concept of showrooming has been around for a long time in markets like US. But these days, it's not uncommon to see, grandmas and grandpas in offline retail stores scanning products to do price comparisons. And what we see is the consumer behaviors are changing very rapidly. I wanted to also talk a little bit about where the growth is coming from. And, this chart here is actually from us, from Hepsiburada. What it shows is really our traffic trends since the beginning of 2014. The blue line shows the desktop traffic, and the red line shows the mobile traffic. In August of this year, for the first time, we actually saw that the mobile site traffic, exceeded the desktop traffic in the history of the company. From our perspective, mobile really hit an inflection point in this market, and that's where a lot of the growth is coming from. As far as the penetration of e-commerce is concerned, though, there is still a lot of potential. I wanted to show the e-commerce penetration as a percentage of retail in different markets like the US and Germany and so forth. Obviously, the percentages are very high. And even in markets like Russia, we see 3.3% penetration. In Turkey, it's 1.6%. And from our perspective, we think there's certainly a lot of untapped potential here as far as the future opportunities are concerned. When we look at the growth rates of e-commerce in the Turkish market, what we see is it's actually growing twice as fast as the offline retail. And these are some of the percentages that we pulled from Euromonitor. And over the last 3 years, certainly the growth rate of e-commerce has been 2x than the offline retail. And based on our estimates and based on all the data that we're seeing, we don't think this growth rate is going to slow down. And we basically think that the similar patterns will continue into the future. Okay. And sort of one more data point here. I know my slides are quite heavy with a lot of numbers, but and I sort of wanted to show an example from the electronics category in particular. And again, these are some of the estimates that we pulled from Euromonitor and Forrester. And basically, we think over the next 5 years, the share of e-commerce within the electronics category is going to grow from 10% to 29%, similar to the levels that we're seeing in some of the more mature markets like Germany and the UK. So that certainly sort of talks to the growth potential of the market So before I transition into some of the innovation examples, I wanted to say a few words about Hepsiburada. Like I said, it's the largest e-commerce platform in Turkey. It was actually created 17 years ago with $100,000 capital in a small apartment in Istanbul. Over the last 10 years alone, the revenue has grown more than 25 times. Today, we sell 700,000 SKUs across 27 categories, everything from electronics to furniture to sporting goods. 32 million monthly visits, 15 million monthly visitors, 4 million paid customers. And one of the things that we're really proud of is we're actually recognized as one of the fastest growing e-commerce companies in Europe by the Internet Retailer publication. So with that, I want to sort of talk about 2 innovation areas that we're focused on, just to sort of demonstrate how we're really capitalizing on the market opportunities that exist. The first one is mobile transformation. And sort of want to talk about the journey here. We like to use the term journey because we feel like it's not a project that has a start and end date. You keep sort of working on it as to capitalize on the opportunities. But this is a journey that we started at the beginning of last year. And Hepsiburada did not have a mobile site. Our mobile apps were outdated. When we started the journey, it was all about speed to market because we sort of wanted to capture the growth potential that was coming from mobile. Within 3 months, we launched the beta site, our mobile beta site. In 6 months, the whole mobile site, optimized site, was in production. At the same time, we updated our apps. We released the new next generation of our apps. We also built an in-house app team that is just focused on sort of creating the next version of our mobile apps. And then we turned our attention to building our responsive site because obviously what we saw was all these devices, you have tablets, you have smartphones, you have desktops, different versions of screen sizes. We wanted to make sure that the experience is optimized across all these platforms. Here's some of the results that we're able to achieve. Starting from January 2014 until October 2015, it's about 20-month period, I would say. 4% revenue growth and 3% traffic growth in the mobile channel alone. And to the extent that we were actually surprised by the amount of growth that we're able to capture here. After the mobile site launch, like I said, we focused on the responsive and building the responsive site. I know this is sort of a big debate in the e-commerce sector. Should we build a responsive site? Should we not build a responsive site? But we decided to go for it. And actually, it sort of paid really good dividends for us. Significant increases in add-to-cart rates, page impressions per visit, which means we're able to achieve higher engagement rate. And then most importantly, we knew this is actually, Google sort of likes responsive sites and favors it in SEO rankings. But we're able to also capture a lot of traffic growth on search engine optimization side because our URL links and the site was a lot more optimized in Google size. And that was also one of the nice wins coming from this innovation area. The second area that I'm going to talk about is also linked to our mobile site, and it's personalization. This is also something that we sort of pushed in parallel to our mobile innovations. And our starting point was this. We actually do surveys with our customers, and we ask the question, what are the key purchase drivers? What are the barriers from shopping Hepsiburada? And one of the survey results that we looked at, and this is something that we did in partnership with Ipsos, personalized recommendations were actually the third most important factor, right after I enjoy shopping and delivery speed. So we decided to put a lot of focus on this, and this is one of the reasons we actually also push forward the personalization initiative. I sort of wanted to, again, in the interest of time, show a few screenshots here in terms of how the experience works. Sort of in the first step, the new visitor clicks on a relevant offer on our site. In this case, it happens to be a banner, a fashion banner. They browse through the recommended items, but then they exist with no purchase. And then when they come to the site later on, if I can get this work. Okay, one more try. No. You have to sort of visualize the last image there. Okay. But basically what we're able to do is look at the browsing behavior and profile of that user and show personalized recommendations. And we're able to do it across all the platform. It doesn't matter if the journey goes across mobile, tablet, desktop, or the other way around. We're able to recognize the same user and be able to provide relevant recommendations to the user. And why was this important? And I want to talk a little bit about the results here that we're able to achieve. As a result of personalization and all these product personalized recommendations, we basically were able to sort of capture 8 to 10% of revenue. So when you look at our overall revenue today, about 8 to 10% actually come from personalized recommendations, and accounts for about 10 to 13% of overall orders. Of course, you can make the argument that some of these users might have bought anyway, but we still think there's huge incrementality here associated with these personalized recommendations. And the other important sort of result here that I want to also share, we look at engaged users versus non-engaged. So engaged meaning users that actually click on these recommendations, they engage with the recommendations. They account for 12 to 16% of the overall site revenue, which is quite substantial. And what we see is their conversion rate is 2 to 4% higher than the users that don't engage. So, from our perspective, that really sort of indicates how powerful relevancy is. And if someone is interested in running, when they see those running shoes on the front page, they engage. And if a new mom that sees diapers, they engage. But it's all about creating that relevancy through personalization. Before I sort of wrap it up, I wanted to, I mentioned this is a journey for us. We're certainly not done, but to capitalize on the growth, these are some of the key things that we're focused on. The first one is loyalty. We have 4 million customers, and a lot of them are one-time shoppers, one-time users. So we're really thinking about how we can get them come back and shop the site more frequently. And sort of repeat purchase CRM, data-driven marketing. These are some of the things that are critical there. Second area is mobile growth. We still think there's huge potential there. We are nowhere close to the finish line. Today 55% of all our traffic comes from mobile, but in our estimation, it's going to reach 80 to 85% over the next year, over the next 2 years. Again, Turkey sort of being a mobile-first country, the smartphones, the penetration of smartphones are a huge driver of growth. And then finally, smart pricing and assortment. And again, all these grandmas and grandpas that are sort of checking prices in these offline stores, obviously they want to make smart decisions, smart buying decisions. And so for us, that means we need to have the best price. we need to have the most optimized price. And best price doesn't mean the lowest price. So we're also trying to use a lot of data and market intelligence to come up with sort of price optimization scenarios. But all in all, sort of the one thing that I want to sort of leave you with, certainly e-commerce from a penetration perspective, it's under-penetrated in Turkey, but as you sort of look at the dynamics of the market, we think it's sort of about to hit an inflection point, and there's certainly a lot of growth potential over the next few years. And with that, thank you so much for listening.
Can I have this one?
Absolutely.
Thank you.